What up, America? It's the Fireball again. I ain't done a YouTube video in forever, but today seems like a good day to do one. You know, because it's 10 degrees outside. It's too cold to do anything else. Besides, I've already been on PS4 all day, so time to do something constructive for a change. Now, I have very strong opinions about a particular subject. I've been keeping them to myself for a while, but I just can't hold back any longer. It's time to unleash the beast. It's time that we talk about the wall. No, I'm not talking about that wall. That was a fucking awesome wall. I mean, I can't do indoor rock climbing without imagining I'm on a 60-second time limit and Gemini is climbing after me. Wow, what an adrenaline rush that was. No, I'm talking about a bigger wall. A more shameful wall. A flashy wall full of empty promises. A wall that got shoved down America's throat in 2016, even though real Americans have absolutely no need for it. And if that dishonest, disrespectful, psychopathic, bigoted, anti-Christian, anti-American, bastardized son of a bitch Donald Trump is watching this video, I'm not talking about your wall either. This video is not about you, so just go away and take your Nazi enablers with you. No, I'm talking about NBC's The Wall. This is the network's latest attempt at a big money primetime game show. And all apologies to Cindy Seidelman, this show is absolute garbage. How do we count the ways? Well, let's go brick by brick on why The Wall is an absolute train wreck. And we have to start with the human train wreck who is responsible for this going to air. Every episode begins with a pre-recorded explanation video from executive producer and NBA stooge LeBron James, trying his damnedest to pretend to care about people other than himself. He states that the wall was created in order to give needy people the opportunity to win a life-changing sum of money. Really, the wall was created in an attempt to absolve LeBron of a 13-year NBA career of being a selfish crybaby who thinks he's entitled to everything. Anybody with an IQ above that of wallpaper paste can tell immediately from the introductory video that LeBron phones it in like Mariah Carey at the New Year's Eve concert. So, to the wall itself now. It's a 4-story tall, multi-million-dollar pachinko board gussied up with neon lights and LED screens. At the top of the board are 7 numbered drop zones from which balls can be dispensed. These balls are about the size of a basketball, appropriately enough. They're made of some translucent plastic or plastic composite or whatever, inside of which are lights that turn the balls either green or red. More about the colors in a little bit. The balls drop through a series of rods and land in one of 15 cash slots at the bottom of the wall. So LeBrick watched an episode of The Price is Right when he was homesick from school one day and thought that it would be a good idea to turn Plinko into an hour-long game show. Nice try, but The Price is Right beat you to that concept by about 4 years. Price is Right already tried an all-Plinko special back in 2013 to commemorate that Price and Game's 30th anniversary, and that also sucked ass. You know, if NBC and LaFlop wanted to give a bunch of money to some deserving people, producing a shitty game show is not the way to do it. I mean, with the money that they spent to build this monstrosity of a set, they could have given that money to a soup kitchen, St. Jude Children's Hospital, Habitat for Humanity, Gold Star Moms, Black Lives Matter, the ACLU, Planned Parenthood, the Southern Poverty Law Center, any inner city school. You know, the kind of things that Jesus would do if he had millions of dollars. Literally anything would be better than offering money through this Plinko ripoff. Which brings us to the contestants. As I said earlier, LaTravel begins every episode by expressing his intention to give money to deserving people. Well, considering that this is an NBC game show, that's par for the course. Just like with every other big money NBC game show produced in the past 10 years, from Deal or No Deal onward, all the contestants come directly from central casting. And, the producers simply pick whichever applicants have the best sob stories and can get apeshit excited at every little moment, then put them in front of the cameras. This isn't Queen for a Day, damn it! Now let's talk about the host. NBC didn't fuck up this show completely. They managed to get a decent host in Chris Hardwick. If you've seen even one episode of either Singled Out or At Midnight, then you know he can deliver. He's smart, he's funny, he's charismatic, he can ad-lib, he has great rapport with all of his contestants, he keeps the game moving, he's the consummate professional. Having said all of that, though, he's just out of his element hosting a serious question-and-answer game show. He should stick to making dick jokes on Comedy Central. Chris also happens to be one of the executive producers of this show. But he clearly isn't the one calling all the shots here, otherwise this show would have been better thought out. Overall, Chris is the best part of this show, and when the only good thing you can say about a game show is that the host didn't suck, that's a sign the game show is headed for a free fall. We finally get to the gameplay, and the first part of the show just happens to be called Free Fall. The the contestants, are given 5 questions, each with a video clip and 2 possible answers. If the couple locks in with the right answer, money is added to their bank. If the couple locks in with the wrong answer, money is deducted from their bank. It's the simplest game show premise possible. But here's where the game gets both exciting and frustrating at the same time. At the beginning of each free fall question, 3 balls are engaged at the top of the wall. One at drop zone number 1, one at drop zone number 4, one at drop zone number 7. 15 cash slots at the bottom range from $1 to $25,000, with the slots alternating between the low amounts and the high amounts. The low amounts are the odd number slots, and they are $1, $10, and $100, while the 7 even numbered slots are the high cash amounts. $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, and a lone $25,000 slot at dead center, slot number 8. The moment that the 2 choices for each question are revealed, the 3 balls are released and bounce through the wall. The couple must quickly pick A or B. They may change their answer so long as the 3 balls are still in play, but once the first ball enters a cash slot, their most recent guess is locked in. If they're correct, the balls turn green, which means they win 3 cash amounts in which the balls landed. If they're wrong or they fail to lock in an answer, the balls turn red, which means that the 3 amounts are taken out of their banks. And the wall will never put a couple in negative cash. At the end of the 5th question, if the couple has any money in their bank, even if it's little as $1, they get to play the rest of the game. The free fall rules seem innocuous, but one major technical flaw got exposed on the very first episode. Theoretically, the balls are supposed to take about 10 seconds to bounce through the wall. But one ball needed about 1 second to take a direct diagonal path from the drop zone to the cash slot. As a result, the couple was locked out of the question. They were unjustly penalized because the gravitational forces on a plastic ball are faster than normal human reaction time. Clearly, science is not one of airball's best subjects. Now we get to the second round of the game, and this is where everything drastically changes. The big money round is played in 3 parts. And this round requires the couples to be split up. One half is isolated from the main game, while the other half remains on stage to control the couple's fate. So now we're ripping off the gimmick of the TBS game show Separation Anxiety, because why not? We're already ripping off Plinko. In part 1, the onstage player drops anywhere from 7 to 10 balls down the wall. And he or she can now control where on the wall these balls will be dropped. First 2 balls are always green balls, which means free money. The last 2 balls, however, are always red balls, which means automatic forfeiture of some or all of their winnings. In between are 3 questions for the isolated player. Right answers equal green balls, wrong answers equal red balls. The 7 even-numbered cash slots are increased to a top value of $250,000, and they now increase from left to right, with the $250,000 placed all the way over at slot number 14, second from the right. Strategy is key, as balls released from drop zone 7, the rightmost drop zone, are more likely to land in $250,000 than balls released from drop zone 6. Balls released from drop zone 6 are more likely to land $250,000 than when released from drop zone 5, and so forth. To start part 1, the designated question answerer is sent off to an isolation booth behind the wall. He or she will not know how much money is won or lost on the wall until the end of the show. Meanwhile, the onstage player selects 2 of the 7 drop zones to play their first free green balls. Placement is important here because the 2 red balls at the end of part 1 must be released from the same 2 drop zones. The 2 green balls are released simultaneously, so anywhere from $2 to $500,000 can be won for doing absolutely nothing. To the questions now. The onstage contestant is shown 3 possible answers. Based on those answers, he or she plays from the drop zone that coincides with their confidence level that their partner will come up with the correct answer. Higher confidence means playing closer to the $250,000 slot. The isolated contestant is then shown a video clip, the question, and the options. There is no time limit, so the isolated contestant can freely deliberate to the camera before locking in an answer. Another little wrinkle to the game is that the isolated player is never told if their answer is correct. That comes into play at the end of the game. We'll get to that later. On the second question, the onstage contestant has the option to double up, that is, play 2 balls from the same drop zone. On the third and final question of part 1, there is an option to triple up for 3 chances at the $250,000 slot. If you add it all up, that's a potential $2 million before they even go to the next part of the round. But of course, it's just as likely that they will win only $8 off of those same 8 balls. Then the 2 red balls come in at the end of the part to take away up to $500,000. This part of the show drives the game show purists up the proverbial wall. Contestants can answer every question correctly, but still potentially leave the show with nothing because of bad luck. You know, it's one thing for a contestant to play a perfect game and leave with nothing because their opponents were greedy, vindictive assholes, such as on The Weakest Link, or NBC's Christmas 2012 Big Money Game show, The God-Awful Take It All. It's another thing entirely for a contestant to play a perfect game and leave with nothing because of the built-in mechanics of the production itself. It sucks all of the fun out of the game and completely defeats the purpose of having a quiz show in the first place. What's the point of playing a game the right way if you don't get rewarded for it? In that respect, most game show purists would rather watch an all-Plinko episode of The Price is Right because at least the Plinko board has never taken away money from a contestant. Part 2 of the big money round is played just like the first, but more rewards and more risks. The 7 high cash amounts now go from $50,000 to $1 million, again from left to right. 4 free green balls start part 2. This time the balls are dropped one at a time, and the onstage contestant may play a drop zone more than once. 4 red balls end part 2, also dropped individually and from the same drop zones as those 4 free green balls at the beginning. The 3 questions in the middle have 4 choices and are more difficult. The double up and triple up options are once again available on the second and third questions, making the second part worth a maximum of $9,999,996 and the entire game worth a maximum of nearly $12.5 million. Good luck if you can get it. After all the balls have been dropped, we get to the final segment of the game, with the isolated half of the couple oblivious to how well their partner has done at the wall, and even how well they themselves have done with the questions. Chris offers the isolated party a buyout option, an insurance policy, if you will, if the isolated contestant believes that neither the questions nor the balls fell their way. So, not content with ripping off Plinko and separation anxiety, Queen James also rips off the guardian angel gimmick from one of the most mindless game shows ever created, ABC Network's 2007 stinker, Set for Life. In this portion of the game, Chris sends a contract to the isolated player via a pneumatic tube, like the ones you see at the bank. In that contract, the isolated player is offered the amount that they collected in the free fall round plus $20,000 for each correct answer given in the big money round. The contract does not disclose how many correct answers were given, so the isolated player has to use his or her better judgment. The video feed from the isolation booth is cut off so that the isolated player can decide whether to sign the contract for the guaranteed cash or tear up the contract for whatever cash is left at the wall. Once the isolated player has sent back either a signed contract or a ripped contract, the couple is reunited. And we get the insufferable, drawn-out drama that is typical of all of NBC's big money game shows. Then the formerly isolated player finally reveals what they did with the contract, and the onstage player, for better or for worse, reveals the final cash amount on the wall. Now, I don't really have a problem with the Guardian Angel portion of this show. In fact, it was the only original and interesting thing on Set for Life. It's just the stall tactics surrounding the reveals that make it so painful to watch. Oh, and let's not forget that the couple could play the perfect game and have millions on the wall, but the isolated player could chicken out and sign the contract for a fraction of the wall's value. It'd be the same as watching red balls drop into that $1 million slot. And that's the wall. It's the perfect representation of that human Lorax, the pumpkin Führer, Donald Trump. It's loud, it's pretentious, it's uncontrollable, it's misanthropic, it makes huge promises to change people's lives for the better. But when you do your research, you quickly realize that it fails to deliver anything meaningful to 99.9% of Americans, and above all else, it takes away money from you right in front of you. It's just one massive letdown after another. The only good things I can say about The Wall are that Chris Hardwick does a good job hosting the 4-story pile of shit that he's been given, and the show doesn't insult my intelligence the way that, say, Take It All did. Other than that, NBC needs to go back to the drawing board and come up with a more fulfilling big money quizzer. ABC made a successful game show comeback last summer with reboots of Celebrity Family Feud, the $100,000 Pyramid and Match Game, so there is a glimmer of hope. Until next time, FDT. 1.